If you're someone who creates, you'd probably relate to the phase in your art journey where suddenly painting and drawing doesn't seem to come as naturally to you as it used to. If you're feeling this way, it's okay, you're not alone. Throughout this video, I'll be sharing mindsets and tips that helped me push past this feeling and complete this realistic painting with watercolors of 4 girls dancing. Honestly, at the start of this painting, I didn't want to paint at all. The thought of painting something new again felt exhausting, and nothing seemed to be catching my interest. But when I came across this reference photo on Pinterest, I felt captivated by these little girls who seemed to be finding joy through something so simple like dancing outside. For this painting, I decided to use the same Yupo paper that I used for a previous painting of mine in this video. Yupo paper can be used for both acrylics and watercolors, and is a paper with a more waxy finish. I'm also challenging myself with this piece by painting a more intense and busy background. To make the sketch for this piece, I tested out a new projector to use for tracing. You'd be surprised that a lot of artists use tracing as a method to create their sketches. While I'm aware that the concept of tracing can be a bit controversial in the art community and considered cheating, tracing is actually a valid method of sketching that is even taught in art school. I personally don't think that tracing is cheating. The sketch of an art piece is like the skeleton of a human. While the skeleton is an important structure of the human body, there are so many more layers that make up a human. You wouldn't be able to recognize someone just by looking at their skeleton. I feel that the same thing applies to art. The sketch is the structure of the piece, and all the layers you as an artist add onto your painting or drawing is what makes it art. Furthermore, if you were to give the same traced sketch to both an artist and someone random who doesn't make art, the random person would probably not be able to bring their piece to as good of a level as the artist. And most importantly, tracing saves so much time. By tracing, you can instead focus your energy more on the painting process. That said, I still think it's important to train your freehand sketching skills, just you don't have to do it for every art piece. In my previous video, I drew 4 freehand realistic portraits with pen, which I will link below if you're interested. You are welcome to share your perspective and thoughts on sketching and tracing in the comments below. At this point in the painting process, I was finding the little girl in the middle difficult to paint. I was struggling a bit on visually separating her skin from her dress. Before, her dress and her arms and legs blended together, so to solve this, I decided to add a blue color to some shadow areas, which made it look more clear overall. I feel like a lot of artists also face this phenomenon of fearing the blank page. Something I learned recently is to not wait for inspiration to start creating. Sometimes, especially if you haven't painted or drawn for some time, it's important to push yourself to start again and get yourself in motion. Start before you know how, and don't focus on perfection. Just create, because it's possible that your creative block might be simply because you forgot how much you enjoy creating. For this painting, every time I sat down to paint, I would just sit and stare at the paper until I felt like picking up the paintbrush. I understand how sometimes it can be so hard to start, but believe me, just start. You won't regret it. Something else that I feel is a reality for many artists is feeling self-doubt or imposter syndrome. You may find that you are comparing yourself to other artists and bringing yourself down, telling yourself that they are somehow improving faster and that their art journey is somehow easier than yours. I've been thinking about this lately, and I think it might come from calling yourself an artist. When you give yourself the grand title of artist, you are automatically giving yourself a title that you must now uphold, which can lead to pressure and imposter syndrome. You might start thinking, well, most artists act like XYZ or do XYZ, and I'm not doing that right now, so I must not be a real artist or good enough. To heal this root, just call yourself someone who makes art. First and foremost, you are a person, and art is just something you do, not entirely who you are. There's this concept that I like, which is don't chase butterflies. Make a garden so beautiful that they will come to you. While this is usually told in the context of relationships, I think it also can apply to art as well. Chasing success and progress in your art or trying to find an art style is like chasing butterflies. You might catch one or two, but it's exhausting and your efforts are pretty pointless. Instead, invest in yourself and make yourself a garden. Just like a garden has many flowers, expose yourself to different mediums and different art forms, even if your main focus is drawing or painting. Pottery, theater, filmmaking, music, or anything that you have an opportunity to try. Exposing yourself and pushing yourself outside of your artistic comfort zone is never a waste. You'd be surprised how seemingly unrelated activities can be a source of inspiration for your drawing or painting. This way, you are bound to attract certain people and certain opportunities. And even when success is not immediate, you aren't losing anything because you are improving in your skills and becoming a better person than before. Something I love about making art is how when you get into the zone, you can't possibly think of anything else and your mind goes completely blank and only thinks about painting. This makes it a great meditative way to take a break from your thoughts and the sometimes overwhelming speed of our everyday lives. Usually when I paint, I listen to music or a podcast. For this painting, when it was getting hard for me to lock in, I turned off everything and worked in silence. Interestingly enough, personally, I found that this way I started painting faster. By letting my mind focus entirely on my painting, I started painting more intentionally. Alright, so this is my setup over here, and honestly with this painting, I've been really struggling with just not wanting to paint at all and going through a bit of a block, but with this painting, I'm really trying to push past that and just simply create regardless and, you know, not put too much pressure on myself and just be like, you know what, you got this. You can just paint for a little bit, you know, just take it slow. And yeah, I think it's coming along pretty well and I don't regret it at all. Slowly but surely we'll get there. Something else that I personally found helpful in pushing through and completing this painting was setting a timer for 30 minutes. This is helpful to mentally keep track of time and feel accomplishment even if your painting process is slower, like mine was for this piece. Because I was only using two colors, beige and blue, there were times where I would just stare at my painting and think. The main thing that I really wanted to get right was the wall behind the girls. I wanted to be sure that you can tell that the wall is in shadow and is also giving its own shadow onto the ground at the same time. Also, at some point in the painting process, I was starting to get confused because it was hard for me to tell where I needed to paint darker. The thing about colors is that two different colors can have the same value or be the same darkness. So I took a photo of my piece on my phone and put it in grayscale and compared it side by side with my reference photo, which is black and white. This way, it was easier for me to see exactly where I needed to go darker in my piece. There's this interesting concept that I came up with that helped push me to finish this painting. It's a bit unconventional, but it did the job. Whenever I was feeling stuck in the painting process, I would ask myself, if this were the last painting you ever made, would you regret not finishing it? And I would agree with myself that yes, it would be a shame to leave it unfinished. Lately, I picked up a new habit of drawing for fun in my sketchbook. I find that it's helping me bring my spark back and not be so serious. Just keep creating. Like the girls in the painting, maybe we should try to strive to find beauty and joy in the simple things. It's true that creating art can be challenging, but that's also what makes it rewarding. If anything in this video was helpful and speaks to you, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.